But Sasha and her family joined us around September of 2022, I think, roughly. So you first were exposed to Pulse at the women's event we had, right, in August of 2022, and that's where I met you, and I think that's the day I met Vase as well. I wanted to ask, from that event, obviously you joined our community of faith. So what was it about this church, or what did God say to you specifically that you felt like this needed to be our community of faith?
I don't know, I just saw everyone was so different. Because me and Sylvester are different color, a lot of people reject us, and I felt very accepted here. I felt like that wasn't an issue for you guys, and that helped me accept this church better than other churches, I suppose.
So you mentioned such a powerful gospel word, which is acceptance, right? What would you say about what God is doing here that made you feel accepted? Because there must have been something underneath that acceptance.
I don't know, I just felt like everyone was different. No one actually had, no one was fake, if I could put it that way. Although we have our differences and we all live different lives and have been brought up differently and all those type of things. I felt like Jesus, I think when you know in your soul, you just know,
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit was just leading me, pushing me towards Pulse Church when I was looking for a church.
Sure. And actually, you had 3 requests of Jesus. Do you remember what they were before you came to Pulse?
To look for a church,
Yeah.
to get married,
Yes.
and I can't remember the last one, man.
Has to do with water.
Get
baptized, right?
Yes, of course.
And Jesus answered all of those 3 questions.
Yes.
But we've seen your heart for Jesus. We've seen your passion for Him. And what would you say in the last year and a half in this journey of faith that the one thing perhaps that Jesus has done such a profound work in your soul that you'd say the Sasha who you are today wasn't the Sasha that you were a few years ago?
Sure, I mean it's only in such a short time, but I do already feel a change. I look back at who I used to be and I was like, wow, you'd never go about the situation that you're facing right now the way you have. And in such a short time, I can't wait to see how I'm forming to be what Jesus wants me to be for the kingdom, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, because there's change happening, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And by the way, I don't prep any of these guys in terms of the questions I'm asking.
Yeah, the whole week I was like, should I tell Nate I'm going to cancel? I don't want to do this anymore.
Because you want it to be as authentic, as real as possible, right?
Yeah, so I've been a little bit scared all week. I'm like, maybe I should just message Matt. And Matt's like, hey Sash, can't wait for Sunday. And I'm like, oh, should I just tell him how I'm feeling? Lord, what are you telling me? Anyways,
so what
I'm glad I'm here.
I'm so glad that you're here, Sash, and your family as well, your beautiful family.
Thanks, Matt.
What is it you're most excited about for yourself and for this community of faith going forward?
When I initially first came to Pulse Church, I thought the first thing that God planted in my heart was that this church is going to be big. And actually, when I told Kirst about it, she was like, no, it can't get that big. And I was like, it's going to get big. Like, I felt Pulse Church growing really, really big. And initially, I mean, it can be scary, but I want to be part of a small church that was small and becoming big and just bringing more people closer to Jesus and growing the kingdom of heaven for God. And it's just so nice to be able to speak about Jesus to people that know who Jesus is, because when you sit with unbelievers, it's hard. They don't quite understand what you're trying to tell them because they don't see what you see and hear what you hear. And I feel like church helps you have those people around you. What's in your heart.
And we've always loved that about you, your heart for the lost, those who are far away from God. And I think that's something we've learned as a church, just in terms of patience with people, sensitivity in terms of where they are at, the brokenness they come from. And I think that's how God has begun to temper us as a church, because we can tend to be all fiery and brimstone and not recognizing that every person has their story, right?
Correct.
And every person has their brokenness and the trauma that they go through, so the way they receive the message may not necessarily be the way you would want them to receive it. And I think I love the fact that your eyes are not just on this community, but your eyes are on those outside of this community who don't not yet know Jesus. So, I mean, I just want to mention as well, your desires for this church to be big, right? But would you say that in your journey you also notice that we want to go deep,
Yes.
not just wide,
100%.
right? So maybe this will be the last question this morning is, we know that God has gone deep into your heart.
Yeah.
So maybe in your own words, as far as you feel comfortable to share, like, what is perhaps one area that He's really gone deep into and started doing some
It's
heart
definitely
surgery?
with me, my own person who I was prior to knowing Jesus. And like what Mike mentioned earlier on, like the little things that we don't know that we do as sinful to God. Yeah, it's just these little things. And I'm like, wow, that was who I was. Like, I know that was who I was. So, it's difficult. It's amazing though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you, Sash. I think we'll stop there.
I'm a crier, man. I was like, Lord, please, the last thing I want to do is cry. And please help me not cry. And
Yeah.
towards the end, I was like, okay, maybe you can make me cry towards the end. And now it's
Well, don't blame it on me. But I love this idea of when we are born, God had this picture and this idea of who He wants us to be. But then He's so patient as He walks with us to get to that point. He's so gentle. Yesterday I had the privilege of preaching at Sasha and Sylvester's. Denver and Claudia's wedding. Their wedding was the previous one before that. But I was just saying, when Paul exhorts us in Ephesians 2, when he says, always be humble and gentle. But then I reminded everyone who is humble and gentle. When He Himself said to us in Matthew 11, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and you will find rest. Why? Because I'm humble and gentle in heart. And in the hands of Jesus, I think part of the reason why you love Jesus so much is you feel safe with Jesus.
Oh, yes.
More than anyone else. And this is our desire for this church, and this church will be that safe place for people. Thank you, Sash. We love you. We appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you grow and becoming the woman that God designed you to be. Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Sash.